What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today I wanted to do another Relocation Football League video for you guys, another London Bulldogs update, and just talk a little bit about the RFL and the London Bulldogs, everything that's been going on around the team, because if you haven't been paying attention to the social media pages, you're missing out on a lot, because there has been so much going down within the RFL right now. Obviously, if you guys missed it, the Season 6 playoffs just finished up, the Relo Bowl finished up, and Dre Crowell and the Celtic Tigers took on the Snowhawks over there of the NRC, and that was a very, very interesting game to watch. So make sure you guys go over to the RFL's channel and check that out. But yeah, make sure you guys are watching the content. Make sure you guys are paying attention to the social media pages. Make sure you guys go ahead and get on their website at relocationfootballleague.com and check out the ability to potentially apply for a player. I think they might be closed down on that right now, but you might be able to apply to become a coach of a team in the RFL and things of that nature. So make sure you guys go and check that stuff out and give them some love on their social media pages, as well as subscribing to the London Bulldogs RFL on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, so make sure you guys follow us, because your help, your support really helps out drive engagement throughout the league and through our YouTube channels and everything. So with that being said, I feel like it's a good opportunity now to just make a video here about the London Bulldogs and talk a little bit about the team, what's going on with the team, what's going on with trades and whatnot, because we've made quite a few notable trades. Obviously, some things to talk about, and so I definitely want to get into them. Now, the first thing that I want to commentate on is that tomorrow they are going to be holding a podcast on the Relocation Football League channel. Make sure you guys check that out as well, because I'm sure that they're going to be holding a lot of very good information in terms of the draft, like probably when the draft is aiming for, a lot of the trades and moves and everything that has gone on within the RFL, various different things like that. You'll probably be hearing a little bit about the London Bulldogs because we've made some noise, so make sure you guys check that out. And it's always great to listen to those guys that have been around since the beginning, pretty much, talk about, what's going on with these teams. I always like hearing them talk about the Bulldogs and what I got going on, because, I'm coming in late. I came in at the beginning of not this season, but the season before. And so, it's kind of a matter of, learning my way through the RFL and building up my skills to the point where those guys are, building the team up to that point and learning from them. So always good to hear from them. Make sure you guys check that out tomorrow. So the first thing that you might notice if you do pay attention to my London Bulldogs videos here on the channel is that our team has improved in terms of overall just by looking at this screen right now. So you guys know that when I did my end of season update, we were at about an 82 overall. Now, I can't remember the exact grades for our offense and defense, but I would assume that our offense was probably around an 84 or 85, all things considered, because this really has not changed. And one thing I'll get into today is that we did not have much regression within this team at all. But one thing that I will say is that our defense improved, and that was a huge change for this team in terms of our defense. Now, we improved in certain areas and maybe got a little bit worse in other areas that we're definitely going to be looking to address within the draft, but you guys can see immediately that we've already made a couple of additions that have us headed potentially in the right direction with this team. And one of the things that I like to say whenever people ask me questions about the Bulldogs is, a lot of people say, what type of talent are you looking for? What type of player are you looking for? How do you like to build your roster? But one of the things that I like to say is that I'm not just looking to build the roster as the London Bulldogs coach. A thing that I think a lot of people have to understand about coaches here in the RFL is that outside of these players that you see on the screen, part of our duty is to essentially be the GM of this team. So part of our duty is our social media presence. Part of our duty is basically making our team known and making our team, noticeable and notable, and making the RFL notable. Hyping up these teams. Driving viewership to the other Relocation Football League games and stuff like that. And so by just talking about the roster itself, I feel like I'm doing a bit of a disservice, and I feel like I want to put out that disclaimer there that beyond just the roster itself, there's a big job going on here as a coach or a GM of a team here in the RFL. And that's why you guys will see that our two big offseason signings that we were very fortunate to get. Honestly, I feel very, very fortunate that these guys were willing to, as user-submitted players, call the London Bulldogs their home for the next few seasons. Is Duke Pascal, the middle linebacker, 90 overall. We had to make a big push to get this guy in free agency. This was essentially, and I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be 100% honest about it, this was the centerpiece of our offseason plan. Coming into the offseason, once we knew that this guy was going to be a free agency when the season was over, we had our eyes on him immediately, and we're like, you know what, this would be an absolute game changer for the defense of the London Bulldogs. And this is something that, being able to get a guy like this for a defense that I think we were like 30th or something this year in terms of yardage allowed and stuff like that. We had our good moments, we had our bad moments, but, we struggled over the middle because we didn't have the best linebacking core in the world. And it's something we've been looking to revamp for a while. But outside of that, outside of just getting the player, the thing that I want to note is that this is a huge community member. This is somebody that within the RFL Discord is always active. This is somebody that is going to always be attending games. This is somebody that's going to establish a good community within the London Bulldogs, and this is somebody that already has a good establishment within the league, and they're a great person. So that's just one thing that I'm going to drive home in today's video, is that the acquisitions that we've made in this offseason and we're going to continue to make in this offseason go beyond just the player and their abilities. It goes off the field as well, and that is something we're trying to establish here with the Bulldogs. So I do think that our team overall is boosted by the addition of Duke Pascal, but the other one to note here is the addition of Jay Morris, the running back. He's coming over from the Oklahoma City Bisons, and then the linebacker Duke Pascal is coming over from the Huskies. So some may look at the move to bring in Jay Morris as a little bit of a surprising move because, he's a very good running back, and that's not why the move's surprising. The move's surprising because last year we signed free agent running back superstar Vic Cage, and we've had superstar running back Matt Wheaton. Now, one of the things that I want to say with these guys is, again, Jay Morris, though, he may be splitting reps with other guys, is a great community member. This is somebody that's going to increase the presence of the London Bulldogs. This is somebody that's going to put a positive image out there for the London Bulldogs. But as I was saying, these guys are going to be huge additions beyond just the on-field stuff. They're going to be huge additions within the community and huge additions off-field. And so what I want to do first is I want to talk a little bit about the roles that these guys are going to have with the team so everybody knows ahead of time of what's going on here. And so the first one that I want to talk about is Duke Pascal, because obviously this is the young 90 overall superstar linebacker. This is a guy that is going to slot into our defense as a guy that, as of right now, does not have a ton of help around him. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with these players that are around him. It's just that this is a young defense, and they have to develop, and they have to get up to this point. We haven't had a player yet that is at this point that Duke Pascal is at, and I think that that is one of the major draws of bringing a guy like this in. I think that was a major draw for him to come here, is that he can come here, and he can be the centerpiece of the defense, and that's exactly what his role is going to be. You're going to see this guy out there pretty much every single down that you can possibly find him out there. Now, he might serve a couple of roles in terms of there might be certain packages where he bounces around, but he's going to be on the field, and he is the number one playmaker on this defense right now. Now, that's a role that I think that he was looking for as a player. And so he slots into that middle linebacker role as a 4-3 defense, and, I think that he is going to succeed in that role. And I think one thing that allows us to do is move Shane Masters over to the Sam linebacker spot, the strong side linebacker spot. And, he is a player that is, not quite as athletic, but he's a very young player that can become very, very good within this organization as well. And so he, I think, is going to, hopefully serve that role well. I think that he fits in more as that type of a linebacker. Now, his run block shedding ability and stuff like that is not the highest in the world, but that is something that can obviously be developed over time. And so I think that this is a great move in the right direction for the defense, but know that there are some positions here that need to be filled around him in order to give this defense the best chance possible. So I think that some of those positions that we're obviously going to be looking at would be the defensive line, where you can see we have a couple of guys that are lower overall. Obviously, at least one more linebacker position. I'm not sure if we're going to target that in the draft or not, because we really do like Ronnie Santiago and the athleticism that we can see out of him from a weak side linebacker. So we might try to develop him up. But other than that, we're also looking at safety. You know, we need to improve this free safety spot. While Blair Reid is a solid rotational player, and he is a 74 overall but 26 years old with star, he's not going to become the greatest safety in the world. You know, we are looking to add safeties to this team. We're looking for safety help, and then we're also looking for cornerback help. So various different things on the defensive side of the ball, and how they play into the role of Duke Pascal, as he was the centerpiece for our offseason plan and the centerpiece for our defense moving forward. Now, from an offensive perspective, if you know anything about the London Bulldogs, you know that we have a very solid offensive side of the ball. You know, we have one of the better offensive lines around. We have pretty good tight ends. We drafted Reggie Streeter, who's a young and upcoming tight end, and hopefully a future all-star, or rather Pro Bowler, I should say. You know, we have the veteran quarterback Timmy Merritt, who had some struggles this season. We have a couple of young quarterbacks in Tyler Miller and Dre Lawson, who could become something. But, you know, essentially what we're looking to do with the addition of Jay Morris is he wanted to come here and be a role player. He wanted a home that was, you know, conducive to, you know, an active community, and he wanted to be somewhere that's a positive environment, an up-and-coming environment, which is what the London Bulldogs are. And so Matt Wheaton is still going to be the lead back. Matt Wheaton is still going to be the workhorse back, and we see him as that, as the long term for the London Bulldogs. Now, one thing to consider is that his contract is up this year, so there is every possibility that he could potentially decide to go play for another team, and he has every right to do that. And so, you know, we will have Vic Cage around under contract, but Jay Morris adds a little bit of flexibility to what we have going here. He can be a nice change of pace back. He's a player that from my knowledge holds the record for most touchdowns in a single game, with 5 rushing touchdowns in a game, and I believe that was in season 5. And so he's also a player that, you know, can do pretty much everything. He can play on every down. Now, he's not going to go out here trucking guys left and right. You can see his trucking and stiff arm and stuff like that. He's not quite that type of running back, but he is, you know, a decently sized player. He has very solid hands for a running back, decent route running ability and things like that. So he can play on multiple downs and in multiple different roles. And so what you're probably going to see this year is you're probably going to see a lot of different packages for all of these running backs. You know, you're going to get to see, you know, packages where Christian Nash plays, Vic Cage plays, Jay Morris plays, and Matt Wheaton plays. So, you know, we are going to see change of pace between these guys, and you know, we're going to have to do a lot of testing to see which guys fit into which roles. But Jay Morris, you know, coming to the team, agreed that, you know, that's kind of the role that he sees himself in, because, you know, he realizes that, and we realize that within the RFL there's not a lot of need for running backs right now, so it, you know, would be potentially tough to find a starting role no matter what. And so we were able to bring him in and offer him that type of a role. But that's where things stand in terms of the roster, you know, as of right now. And I think the next thing that we really need to talk about a lot is what's going on with our trades and what's going on with the draft. And so, yeah, I think that the next thing that's natural to talk about here is a lot of the news that's going on with the draft and you know, the standings and where everybody's picking. And so during this draft, we came in with the 5th overall pick amongst RFL teams. Now, obviously, like I have said multiple times, we're split between 2 files. And so the AFC teams ARC teams and NRC teams have to be combined and ordered in terms of their performance and things like that. And so we ended up with the 5th overall pick, which is fine, but we've made multiple trades. And instead of recapping each trade, because I can't necessarily put them up on the screen right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, you know, tell you what draft picks we are actually sitting with, and, you know, just kind of describe to you the process of getting those picks, and kind of describe if we're looking to continue to trade and things like that. And on top of that, you know, what we ended up trading away in order to get these picks, and, you know, where we stand in terms of who's on the roster? Did we get any players back and anything like that? So in terms of draft picks, we are actually sitting currently with the second overall pick in the draft. Now, there's been so many shakeups within the draft, so if you guys want to see the official draft order, make sure you guys go and look at the Relocation Football League's social media pages and everything like that. One thing I will note is that the draft order that they put out has a minor mistake on it where we have the 13th pick, and that is actually the Snowhawks pick. We only have 3 first-round picks, but I know I say only, but that's the max. We don't have 4 like the graphic shows. So minor mistake there, but what I will say is that here's our draft order. So we have the second pick in the first round, we have pick 11 in the first round, and we have pick 31 in the first round. So just like last year where we gave ourselves 3 first-round picks in order to boost this roster up, we have yet again given ourselves 3 first-round picks in order to make the most of this draft. And there are a lot of really good players coming out in this draft that I can think will fill the needs of this team that you guys just saw on the screen. Now, we did have to give some things up in order to get those, but I want to first talk about one player that we are actually bringing in within one of those trades. So within one of our trades, in order to trade up to pick 11 in the draft, we actually were able to get back cornerback Matthew Hall. Now, this is actually an interesting acquisition for us because this is a pretty high overall player, a player that I think can do really well for this team. This is a guy that's an 85 overall man-style quarterback with star development at 28 years old. He's 6'1", so he has pretty decent size for a cornerback. But the thing that I like about this guy is he's relatively athletic. You guys can see the stats on the screen there. Really good speed, excel, agility, jumping. Not off the charts or anything like that, but effective enough. But the thing that I like about this guy is he is a man corner. You guys can see that 93 man coverage up there, and he also has 82 play recognition and 84 awareness. So this is the perfect type of cornerback to fit our system. So this is a guy that's going to come over and fill in our cornerback room and help out tremendously on that side of things. I think that that's going to help our defensive pass game quite a bit, especially with trying to run a lot of man coverage on the defensive side of the ball. But this is a guy that fits what we try to do defensively speaking, and I think that this was a big acquisition in order to get some of these trades done and move up further in the draft. Now, in order to get these draft picks back, we actually did have to, move quite a few players that I think will be valuable to other teams, but not necessarily the most valuable in the world to us right now. And so it made sense to try to move on from some of these players that can help other teams in order to improve our draft positioning. So, as I mentioned, we have our 3 first-round picks, but I also wanted to mention we have the 23rd pick in the second round, and then we have the 2nd and 5th pick in the 5th round. So we have pretty much consolidated a lot of our late draft capital to move up in those early rounds. So, we have 3 first-round picks, we have a kind of mid to late second-round pick, and then we have a couple of early 5th-round picks. So we had to consolidate some things. But in terms of players that we traded away left tackle Crosby Edens, who is a player that I think is going to do really well within the league. I think that this is a guy that is kind of geared up to potentially be a starter somewhere. He's got pretty good pass blocking ratings, all things considered. He just needs to improve his awareness a little bit. He's a huge guy at 6'7", 310 pounds, and he's only 23 years old. So, unfortunate to have to move a guy like that, but somebody that obviously did not have a starting job for us, but somebody that I think can be effective within the RFL elsewhere. Then from that point, we had to trade away our right tackle, who is actually no longer on the team. He is over on the Armadillos, and that is, Theodore Rollins, and he will be the starting left tackle for the Armadillos. And this is actually a pretty huge pickup for them as a team because this guy slots in immediately as a starting left tackle. He's got very good pass blocking ratings with 82, 80, and 83. Again, another guy that, was a guy that had potential on our team, but just did not have a starting job, and I think will be extremely valuable to what's going on over there with that team. Obviously, we don't want to see, these good players go away, but if it improves the team overall, once we get some of those draft picks on the team, things are going to be really interesting. Then in terms of players that we've also traded away, so we've traded away defensive tackle Tyler Keltner. That was partially in return for Hall, the cornerback that we just showed you guys that we were acquiring. This is a guy that we decided to move. He's a young relatively young, I should say, defensive tackle, a good run stopper, decent power moves. He's a guy that has played well in his limited reps with us, but we obviously have Jack Brodine and DeMarco Groyce ahead of him, as well as a handful of other guys that can rotate in. So we did move him as well. And then we moved outside linebacker Patrick Shivers, who this is a tough guy to lose, but this was kind of the key piece in that trade with the Crusaders in, linebacker Patrick Shivers, a guy that has 92 speed, 93 acceleration at linebacker. He's also a huge person, 6'4", 262. So he's almost defensive end size at that point. I mean, getting close to there. Pretty good block shedding, really good strength at 90 strength, and I think that he has the potential to be a really good linebacker in the league, but kind of a centerpiece in that trade, and key in order to make that trade happen. So that one hurts to lose a player like that, but with Ronnie Santiago still here with the athleticism that he has, I don't feel like we are necessarily hurt by giving up Patrick Shivers. He's somebody that's going to serve another team really well, and somebody that I don't think is going to really hurt necessarily losing him, because we can fill in, especially after the addition of Duke Pascal at middle linebacker. Then at cornerback, we had to trade away Brandon Bowen in that same exact trade in order to flip cornerbacks. Now, this is a guy that's been around for the Bulldogs for a long time, and this is a very notable name on the Bulldogs. So, it pains me to see a guy like this go. He's had a great career around here, but one thing that I will say is that this is a guy that fits their scheme more than he fits our scheme. So this is a zone type of a corner. This is a guy that can play safety. So, nothing wrong with him. I've appreciated the way he plays, but I think that getting that swap in terms of players there is going to be beneficial to our team and fitting the way that we want to play. So Brandon Bowen will be leaving the team on that note. And then the final player that was traded, and I think maybe one of the keys to the Armadillos trade, was strong safety Kasim Addison. So this is a guy that comes over and helps out on the Armadillos almost immediately. This is a guy that actually played really well for us this season, and we've had kind of a storyline going with him where it's been back and forth on his performance and whatnot, and he came into this season and actually stepped up and played really well. And once the season was over, he was actually not on our trade block, because he had, for a guy that played some sub linebacker most of the season and really didn't see starting reps that often, to get 68 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a quarterback sack, and 2 interceptions is actually really impressive. And so this is a guy that I thought could, stick around for us and actually play a significant role. But again, with the addition of Duke Pascal, we don't really need a sub linebacker. This is a guy that can be an immediate impact player on another team, and so he's going to come over here to the Armadillos and help them out pretty quick. So again, we did have to trade away some significant players in order to make these moves happen with the team, but again, no losses that I feel are insurmountable. If we take a look at the loss at strong safety, Ike Page has been a better strong safety for us all along, and this is a guy that I think is a long-term answer for us. Now, obviously, we don't really have much going on at free safety, so maybe Blair Reid gets the start this year, or maybe we draft somebody that can take that role on and succeed. At cornerback, I think that we're going to be doing really well, because the cornerback that we got is an upgrade, and he fits our scheme better, and we already have Shaquille Tiller, and we developed Isaac Lockhart really well. And then on top of that, at linebacker, we did lose Patrick Shivers, but we obviously bring in Duke Pascal, who's a massive, massive addition to this team. And so that's where we stand in terms of what we had to give up. That's where we stand in terms of where we are with the draft order. And so I hope you guys are ready. Make sure you guys tune into that podcast tomorrow so you guys can get a feel for what's going to happen with the draft, because it's going to be huge. And this team, I really believe this is kind of the turning point in the franchise for the London Bulldogs. Now, obviously, it's on me to put a game plan together that's going to take advantage of this personnel that we're getting, and we're going to have to execute on the field, but I hope that we will look back on this offseason where we added these 2 huge community players as free agency acquisitions, and then we hopefully add some really high impact players in the draft. I hope that we look back on this offseason as a true turning point and the start of the rise of the London Bulldogs, because I think that this team is now put in a position where they almost can't not succeed. Obviously we have to put in that work, and we have to get the game plan right, and we have to do testing and do simulation and get this team right to a point where they play the way that they're supposed to. But I'm really excited about the future of this team. And I think that if you're a London Bulldogs fan, you're hopefully pretty happy with the way that things have gone with this team, because I think that this team is looking like they're going to be competitive within the years to come. So we're on the come up, and I think we definitely need to be executing on our draft strategy here, and then we should be looking towards the season and hopefully looking to compete this year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the update here. Like I said, I just wanted to update you guys on a couple of things that are going on within the league. Way more trades than even that. There was the Explorers have the number 1 pick now. The Wizards, who had the number 1 pick, now have the number 5 pick where we were. Various other trades as well. I know the Snowhawks moved up to pick 13. I know the Cougars made trades, and I believe they got an extra first-round pick. I think that there were a couple of things like that went on. So you guys need to tune into that podcast tomorrow on the Relocation Football League's channel, because you'll get a much clearer picture, especially with them being able to put everything up on the screen for you graphics-wise of what's going on within the league, because this offseason has been crazy, and it's going to continue to be crazy, especially when you consider how this draft is going to go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this update video, leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and comment down below. What do you guys think about the acquisitions we made, the trades that we made? Who do you think we're going to draft? If you know what's going on within the RFL, who do you guys think we're going to draft at pick 1, pick 11, and pick 31? Because we have a strategy in mind right now, and I'm real curious to see what you guys think what we're going to do. Is there anybody that you want us to draft as a London Bulldogs fan? Is there anybody that you think would fit into the team? Let us know all that stuff down in the comment section, because I'm real curious to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.